Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Sportsman Game podcast. But it's another episode of Off Topic, and we're close to Christmas. It's gonna be Christmas Eve tomorrow, and then Christmas on Sunday. So we're gonna be talking about the history of Christmas. But first, we're gonna start off with the basics of Christmas. So I feel like at this point, a lot of people probably know about Christmas. It's probably one of the best holidays to have. So what is Christmas actually, if people don't know? So Christmas is celebrated, of course, on December 25th. And it's with a worldwide cultural and commercial phenomenon. For 2 millennia, people around the world have been observing it with traditions and practices that are both religious and secular in nature. So Christians like myself and my family celebrate Christmas Day as the anniversary of the birth of Jesus of Nazareth, a spiritual leader whose teachings from the basis of the religion, popular customs including exchanging gifts, decorating Christmas trees, attending church, sharing meals with family and friends, and of course, waiting for Santa Claus to arrive at their house. Christmas Day has been a federal holiday in the U.S. since 1870. It has been 152 years ago since the government declared it a federal holiday. So, we got the base out of the way. Let's talk about how Christmas actually started. So, how did Christmas start? In the middle of winter, has long been a time of celebration around the world. Centuries before the arrival of the man called Jesus, early Europeans celebrated light and birth in the darkest days of winter. Many peoples rejoiced during the winter solstice. When the worst of the winter was behind them, they could look forward to longer days and extended hours of sunlight. In Scandinavia, the Norse celebrated Yule from December 21st, the winter solstice, through January, in recognition of the return of the sun. Fathers and sons would bring home large logs which they would set on fire. The people would feast until the log burned out, which could take as many as 12 days, so close to about 2 weeks. The Norse believed that each spark from the fire represented a new pig or calf that would be burned during the coming year. The end of December was a perfect time for celebration in most areas of Europe. At the time of that year, most cattle were slaughtered, so they wouldn't have to be fed during the winter. For many, it was the only time of year where they had a supply of fresh meat. In addition, most wine and beer made during the year was finally fermented and ready for drinking. In Germany, people honor the pagan god Odin during the midwinter holiday. Germans were terrified of him, as they believed he made nocturnal flights through the sky to observe his people, and then he decided who would prosper or perish. But because of his presence, many people chose to stay inside. But the next question is Christmas really the day Jesus was born? In the early years of Christianity, Easter was the main holiday. The birth of Jesus was not celebrated. In the 4th century, church officials decided to institute the birth of Jesus as a holiday. Unfortunately, the Bible doesn't mention the date of his birth, a fact that Puritans later pointed out in order to deny the legitimacy of the celebration. Although some evidence suggests that his birth may have occurred in the spring, why would shepherds be herding in the middle of winter? Pope Julius I chose December 25th. It is commonly believed that the Church chose this date in an effort to adopt and observe the traditions of the pagan Saturnalia festival, first called the Feast of the Nativity. The custom spread to Egypt by 432 and to England by the end of the 6th century. By holding Christmas at the same time as traditional winter solstice festivals, church leaders increased the chances that Christmas would properly embraced, but gave up the ability to dedicate how it was celebrated. By the Middle Ages, Christianity had, for the most part, replaced pagan religion. On Christmas, believers attended church that celebrated raucously in a drunken, carnival-like atmosphere similar to the day's Mardi Gras. Each year, a beggar or student would be crowned the Lord of Misrule, and eager celebrants played the part of his subjects. The poor would go to the houses of the rich and demand their best food and drink. If owners failed to comply, the visitors would most likely terrorize them with mischief. Christmas became the time of the year when the upper classes could repay their real or imagined debt to society by entertaining less fortunate citizens. Now, let's move on to A Christmas Carol. Also around this time, English author Charles Dickens created the classic holiday tale, A Christmas Carol. The story's message the importance of charity and goodwill towards all humankind struck a powerful chord in the United States and England, and showed members of Victorian society the benefits of celebrating the holiday. The family was also becoming less disciplined and more sensitive to the emotional needs of children during the early 1800s. Christmas provided families with a day when they could lavish attention and gifts on their children without appearing to spoil them. As Americans began to embrace Christmas as a perfect family holiday, old customs were unearthed. People looked toward recent immigrants and Catholic and Episcopalian churches to see how the day should be celebrated. In the next 100 years, Americans built a Christmas tradition all their own that included pieces of many other customs, including decorating trees, sending holiday cards, and gift giving. Although most families quickly bought into the idea that they were celebrating Christmas how it had been done for centuries, Americans had really reinvented a holiday to fill the cultural needs of a growing action. Before we move on, let's go to some Christmas facts we have here. So, each year, 25 to 30 million real Christmas trees are sold in the U.S. alone. Alright, so that's definitely a lot of trees. There are about 15,000 Christmas tree farms in the United States. And trees usually grow for between 4 and 15 years before they are actually sold. Now, I don't know, I feel like some people are not a big fan of eggnog. I'm definitely a big fan. Big fan of eggnog right here. So the first eggnog was made in the U.S., was consumed in Captain John Smith's 1607 Jamestown settlement. That's how the first eggnog was actually made. And I will give credit to him because I like it. It's good. The Salvation Army has been sending Santa Claus-clad donation collectors into the streets since the 1890s. Rudolph, which of course, the most famous reindeer of all, was a product of Robert L. May's imagination in 1939. The copywriter wrote a poem about the reindeer to help lure customers into Montgomery Ward department store. But that's some good facts there. But now it's time we move on to the final question of this hot topic episode. Who invented Santa Claus? So, who actually invented Santa Claus? The legend of Santa Claus can be tracked back to the monk named Saint Nicholas, who was born in Turkey around AD 280. Saint Nicholas gave away all of his inherited wealth and traveled the countryside helping the poor and sick, becoming known as the protector of children and sailors. Saint Nicholas first entered American popular culture in the late 18th century in New York, when Dutch families gathered to honor the anniversary of the death of Saint Nicholas, Dutch for Saint Nicholas, or Sinterklaas for short. Santa Claus draws his name from this abbreviation. And that's how Santa Claus was invented. And that's all the history of Christmas that you guys just need to know. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, till next time.